that Avraham Shammah was Jeff's and Joe's father, as we read here, did above and beyond his duty. ונכללת ברשימת החיילים המצטיינים לשנת תשת"ז, and you're one of the outstanding soldiers of this year. חובה נעימה היא לי להביע לך בזאת את הערכתי. This is my pleasant duty to express my appreciation לתרומתך הנאמנה, to your contribution להגברת ביטחון ישראל ואזרחיה, to amplifying, to expanding the security of Israel and its citizens. לכו בדרככם זו והיו דוגמה במילוי חובותיכם ותפקידכם להאדרת ישראל וביטחונו. Continue this path and become a role model as you fulfill your duty and your role to make Am Yisrael greater and more secure. And here we see the Knafaim, the Kanfei Tzniha, the wings of the paratroopers. So
after that, they asked him to join the Mossad.
Wow.
Which he declined.
His mom said no.
Interesting. Yeah, he would end up like Eli Cohen. My father also was.
Yes.
They wanted Arabic speakers
Yes.
to join the Mossad.
Yes. So
Okay.
he knew Eli Cohen.
He knew.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Gidi, are you ready? You wanna share with us? We have Gidi Sassoon from Armenian in Potomac. Please, Gidi.
Thank you. Well, actually, I think my remarks probably will be more appropriate for tomorrow, for Yom HaAtzmaut and not Yom HaZikaron.
It's okay.
So with that, what I will do, instead of talking about my service in the army, like you, Rabbi, I'm from a big family in Yerushalayim, and between myself, my sibling, and my father and his siblings, we had many, many people served in our forces. And unfortunately, we also had losses too. And the first member of our family that passed away serving the country, he was actually my grandfather's brother. And he left Israel in the First World War to Egypt, Alexandria, because the economic situation in Israel was very dire. But then he ended up coming back to work while his family stayed there. And he was the guard of the bank discount at that time in Ben Yehuda Street. And many of you probably remember that there was a big bomb that exploded in Ben Yehuda Street, and there was one person who passed away in that bomb, and that was the guard of the bank, and that was my great uncle.
Wow.
It's really funny because years later I read a book called Kites Alexandroni about the life in Alexandria. Ended up in that book reading about his wife and his kids after he passed away.
Wow.
We unfortunately all had two members of my family that were murdered by terror attacks. The first one, I don't know if you all remember, when Shamir went to Madrid for the talks. Israel was very split at the time. It was after he took over from Shimon Peres as a prime minister, and there was really a split about what should happen in Madrid. Yes, peace talk, and so there was a big demonstration to support Shamir, and my cousin was going with her son and her community, driving to Tel Aviv, and was hit by a terrorist who shot her through the bus and killed her. Her name was Rachela. There are a couple of settlements on her name. She was one of the first people to pass in that method back then. And unfortunately, we lost another cousin. Similar situation. That was in the second Intifada, where he was driving back home in the Minarot and was murdered, a Palestinian. We all had, and we can continue and talk about our friends that we lost. I was very lucky. My service was between 73 and 75 and 80, sorry. So I escaped all the wars. I volunteered in 73. It was before the army. And then I'll talk about my service if we have some time tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gidon. And just to mention, when you say 73, I was 8 years old at the time in Mehem Yom Kippur, and that's a memory that was burned very, very strong into my brain, because as a kid in Yerushalayim is such a quiet city on Yom Kippur. There's nothing. Even Tel Aviv is quiet on Kippur, but Yerushalayim, nothing happens. And I remember very well, we're in the synagogue and you hear the sirens, and everybody, goes and bring their transistors and they're listening, or people coming from over and say, okay, you. And then my father leaves the synagogue, my uncle leaves the synagogue. They're all being drafted, each one to his post. You had the blue tapes on the windows for fear of air raids. We had the sandbags and in years afterwards, even before and after, we constantly practiced running down to the shelters. There was a bit of euphoria after the peace agreements that we thought that this is never going to come back. But unfortunately, we're still in this situation. Actually, one more thing I'll share, that when I went during Tzuk Etan, I was in Israel when Protective Edge, when they started shooting rockets at Israel. 5 years ago, I was in the summer in Israel with my family, and I wanted to stay, but our tickets were done. We have to go, and my kids decided that they were nervous. Let's go back. I came back 2 weeks later with the mission. But as we were leaving Israel, we were in the airport, Ben Gurion. We boarded the El Al airplane, and then we were told to please disembark the aircraft. And people said, okay, should we take the luggage? No, don't take. Just get out. So we all go out, and it turns out, we found out later after we took off, that they were shooting at Ben Gurion, and our plane was the last one that left before they shut down the airport for a while. But to me, the amazing thing was, as we were walking out, we saw the pilots that I know are all veterans of the Israeli Air Force standing there, with a confident smile, don't worry. People were quite calm. And I felt great pride, to know that, yeah, they're attacking us, but we're not running away. We're not under fear. That there's no one in the world. We just had last week when we read the poem of Uri Zvi Greenberg about Yom HaShoah. I think that's the overbearing feeling that is so hard to accept, is how the whole world was standing idly by when it happened to us, and we said never again. And Baruch Hashem, we're now in that situation, and with all the difficulties of Medinat Israel, we fend for ourselves. I also want to acknowledge someone who's a member of the military here, a veteran. Just turned off his video, but anyway, I'll say his name. Michael Habib, who served with the Marines, and I want to add to say thank you to everybody who joined today for the wedding, because we had a wedding today of 2 military personnel. They couldn't do the wedding in any other day, and I told them that I think it's very appropriate that we do it at the time when it's already Yom HaAtzmaut in Israel. The parents of the bride and our whole family is a military family. She is a West Point graduate. The groom is a Green Beret. And to have a couple like that, both Orthodox, it's really amazing. And we thank them for that. I want to share another writing that one of our Minyan members shared, and this time it's Shai Shir, who did the Sharut Leumi in Israel. And he shared this text that he wrote. He says this. I'm going to translate directly, not without reading in Hebrew. Those who read Hebrew could see the text. He says this: between the years 2014 2016, I chose to serve the state of Israel by doing my national service in Hadassah Yerushalayim, working as a nurse assistant and a mentor for new service members. I worked at the most difficult wards, oncology and hematology, and also in one in which you cannot forget the people who went through. It's called the chirurgical ER, intensive care unit. It says this is the department where I passed the true test of medical ethics. This is the ward where there were more people from the military than the staff. because most of the soldiers who get there to have surgery are people who were injured at war. Uh, Says beyond the doors of that war, there were two families, uh, uh, two families, and at one point that their days changed from one end to the other, whose loved ones are almost in the same room. The only difference between the two families that is one of them woke up in the morning, laughed and joked with his and played with his kids and said, "I'm gonna go buy stuff for breakfast," whereas the other one woke up much earlier and was waiting to catch and stab a Jew, and already posted on his Facebook that he's going to meet the 70 virgins. And I, uh, as different of both of them, I thought I'm going to have another routine day in my national service, and then found this very difficult test. Those two people were under the umbrella called uh, severe condition. Only the terrorist had a more severe condition. So, what do you expect? What do you do? And how do you go back to your routine? And I think that's a thank you, Shai, for sharing that. My translation didn't do justice to it because I read it on the fly, but this is something that happens in Israel, and I, I don't know that the rest of the world knows the level of ethics that Israel is striving for, taking care of terrorists, people, murderers, and people who even blew themselves, tried to blow themselves up, and they get medical treatment in Israel. Not to mention Syrian civilians who were hurt during the civil war and who are being brought to Israel to get treatment. They're being attacked by their own people, and they're being treated in Israel. So if there's anyone else who wants to share a thought, fine. If not, I'm going to switch. You can tell me even if I started. I want to switch to read something for you. A couple of poems that I translated. Oh wait, I need to share it correctly. Um, I translated a couple of poems, and if you're in Israel, there are many poems that are heard in the radio on Yom HaAtzmaut. I chose some of the more known one. I'm saying even people who grew up in America but went to Jewish schools might know those songs. The first one is called Ma Avarech Lo Bamei Vorach Ze Hayeled Sha'al HaMalach. It was written by Rachel Shapira from Shfaim in memory of her classmate Eldad Dedi Keruk, who was killed in the 6 Days War in the battle for Jerusalem, and he was 22 years old. And so here are the words. Ma Avarech Lo. Let me stop and ask. Does anyone know the song? You know the song? Okay. I'm going to sing it.
I do.
Okay, I'm going to sing it and then I'm going to explain. I was sure that you, Gidi and Shai, know it. It goes like this. Ma'avarech lo b'mei yevorach, ze hayeled sha'al hamalach, וברך לו חיוך שכמוהו כאור, וברך לו עיניים גדולות ורעות, לדבור על כל פרע והי וציפור, ולהרגיש לו את כל אהבתו. מה אברך לו במה יבורך, זה הנח שעל המלאך, וברך לו רגליים לרקוד עד אינסוף, ונפש לזכור את כל החיים, ויד האוספת דפים על אמור, ואוזן תשובה ללימודים ובתענית. מה אברך לו במה יבורך, זה ההלם שעל המלאך, וברכתי ידיו על מודות וצרכים, יצלחו גם ללמוד את עוצמת הפלדה, ורגליו עובדות את מסע הדרכים, ושפתיו השחורות את הפקודה. מה אברך לו במה יבורך, זה הגבר שעל נתתי לו כל שאפשר לי לתת, שיר וחיוך ורגליים לרקוד, ויד מעודנת ולב מרטט, ומה אברך לך הוא, מה אברך לו במבורך, זה הילד הנאמן, הנער הזה עכשיו מלאך, עוד יברכו, לא עוד יבורך,
אלוקים,
אלוקים, לו אהב
ואהבת לו.
Well, it's a song that when I heard it as a kid, I thought, it's a love song. It's a beautiful song for a little child. But then you realize that the poem progresses from the angel asks, what shall I bless him with? What is the blessing for this boy? And he blessed him with a shining smile and with the great seeing eyes. That's my translation. So if there's any mistake, I take the blame. To capture with them all life, flower and bird, and a heart to sense all visions. Then the boy grows up and becomes a lad. And the angel asks, what shall I bless him with? What is the blessing for him? And he blessed him with feet to dance till eternity, and a soul to remember all melodies, and a head gathering shells at the beach, and an ear to listen to the old and the young. And then he becomes a young man, and the angel asks, what shall I bless him with? And he blessed him that the hands which were used to pick flowers will be able to learn the might of steel, and that his feet will dance which were used to dance the tortuous journey, and his lips will sing the rhythm of command. And the angel says, this man, now this young boy turned lad, turned young man, and turned man, being a soldier. The angel asks, what will I give him? I gave him all that I have, a song and a smile and feet to dance, and a delicate hand and a sensitive heart, and what other blessing shall I give? What shall I bless him with? This young man, this boy, this lad is now an angel. They shall bless him no more. He will not be blessed. Oh God, oh God, oh God, if you only blessed him with life. That's the poem. I think very powerful. Take a moment to digest the story. It's a whole story that we read here of one person, of over 24,000 people who were killed. Each one is a soul. Each one is a neshama. The little boy grew up in a moshav in the north. A nature boy grows up, becomes a soldier, and killed in battle. This is yeah. I'll share another one. This is a more modern song that, again, I think a lot of people in Israel who know the song don't know the full story about behind it. It's a song sung by sort of like you could say back then it was a pop singer, a folk singer, Shlomo Artzi, and it was based. The poem was based on the letters of a young commander, Nimrod Gaon, who wrote letters to his friend Amalia. And in the letters from the battlefield, this commander of combat soldiers speaks about his sensitive soul. He likes to listen to jazz, to Janis Joplin, reading Chekhov, and he says, "I'm I'm a man disguised as a soldier, imprisoned in a straitjacket." He speaks about the horrors of war. That as a young man with a sensitive soul, a poet, an author, he's forced to fight. But this is who you have. I'm sure Gideon and others who served in the Israeli army, and I'm sure also Michael in the American army is the same thing. But in Israel, just because people are so young.
I was also in the IDF.
Oh, you were also in the IDF?
Yeah, I did both.
Oh yeah, you did both. Right.
But I had an easy. I had a cult of kid.
Oh, okay. Because when I spoke about you, you just walked away from the camera, so you didn't hear that I mentioned you. So Michael was also in the IDF. Uh, it's amazing. I mean, you're surrounded by people who are, sensitive, intelligent. They go back to they're not. It's not a professional army. So some people have it as a career, but people will finish people come as a reserve. They finish their military service. They go back. They're high tech developers. They're teachers. They're drivers. They work at everything. As a matter of fact, I share one story that I'm said a high tech developer. A couple of years ago, I read the story about and actually Jeff, he was in the Navy. He was a Navy officer working on a Satil, Sfinat Ilim, commander of a missile carrier. The small ships that are very fast. Dabur, they're called Dabur. They
Boat.
what? Tilim, yeah.
Boat.
Yeah, Sfinat Tilim, and I also want to share what Ronen just sent to me. The Anyway, this commander is on the ship, and it was a reserve. It was a reserve service, and he was on the phone with the developers from America because he was developing high tech, software. And they tell him, "Could you please turn off the video game in the background?" And he says, "It's not a video game. My ship just got into a battle with terrorists, and we're shooting at
Wow.
them." But the end of the story was the developer said, "We can't support, invest in something, and when you are the chief developer and you're in Israel, with such a risk, since he was only a reserve, so he moved to America afterwards. But he made it a point to hire for his company only people who did the military service, mostly with him, from the battalion. It's amazing camaraderie that you have in Israel." And I highly, highly recommend, if you didn't watch a movie that, I mean, it's a bit fiction, but has a lot, speaks about the PTSD of what Israelis live through, When Heroes Fly on Netflix. You have to watch When Heroes Fly. It's amazing, amazing series. Ronen, can I share what you wrote?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Ronen wrote to me about a school colleague from Ethiopia, Bishikhmov Amala, his name, Yosef Tabeja, who was murdered while serving in Mishmar Gvul. He was murdered by Palestinian police and was one of the first Ethiopian Jews to die in the army. And that's Yizicho Baruch, Lerushmato. That's another facet of the Israeli army. I tell you, just even being in Israel in January, taking the light train in Yerushalayim, and you see the Mishmar HaGvul soldiers, Russians, Ethiopians, men, women. Oh my God, you feel so proud that we have a state like that where everybody comes together, everybody could be equal, even when there's inequality. Israel is imperfect. No, nothing is perfect. But to have that, to be able to build that after all the years, after all the things that we went through, is just unbelievable. So I'm going to go back to the poem that I mentioned, and Ronen shared with everyone. He shared with me. Please, share with everyone so they could go to the website and see his story.
I don't know how. I don't know.
Oh, just when you do. Okay, I'll do that. It's fine. I'll copy that and I'll share it with everyone. It's just when you write, instead of writing to me, you write checks to everyone. So, but I could do that.
Rabbi,
Yes.
I also wanted to mention, I shared, which is a very nice story similar to the poem that you shared before.
Yeah.
So
Max
Max Steinberg.
Okay.
I had the honor of being with him in Tiranut and Mikveh
Oh
Alon.
wow. Okay.
They teach you with everything, and I put a link to the video, but it's very beautiful. I mean, the kid had a pure Jewish soul, and his only reason for going to Israel was to defend it. He went on Taglit. His family, I mean, even the mother, I don't know if it says it in this video, his mother had like zero connection to Israel, not really religious, nothing, went on Taglit. went to see everything and saw the beauty of Israel and said, I wanna litrom, be a part of the Medina. And I remember him in Tiranut sitting and asking me marine things and
Wow.
joking around, and really wanted to go into Golani. So he ended up going and sadly joined Sukitan. He fell in battle, and amazing kid, and that just goes to show you, that love. Even if you look at the mother now, she has the deepest connection to Israel now.
Wow.
She even says in the video, the first time like I had a connection with Israel when they knocked on my door, and you just cry. It's beautiful, but big tzaddikim, and you can see that love for Israel that really did it.
Amazing. Amazing. And I think
That's
that's
been it.
also telling. You see, we're sitting a random group here, relatively, right? Everybody that's connected through the minyan and through my emails and others, and we each one of us knows just like that, first degree, second degree connections to people who fought and sacrificed their lives, and some of us were in the army. We honor and salute them all, and we really are I think our mission is to, as much as possible, to make sure there's this peace in Israel, but also to fight from what we can hear in terms of hasbara. Tell the real story to people. Just to help people make the comparison between what's happening in Israel and what's happening in other countries in terms of the ethics of the army and the way we try as much as possible. And like I said, nobody's perfect, but I doubt it there's any country in the world that went through what we went and dealt with its attackers the way we did. I don't think there's a parallel. And I truly believe that it is based because of even those who say that they're not religious or atheists or whatever, but the values of the Tanakh are deeply instilled in us. So I'm going to go to this poem that Shlomo Artzi sings. The author of this poem was 22 also when he died, young kid. It's a little harder to sing, but you could join me with that. Maybe first I'll read the translation and then I'll sing it. He says, "Again I hear in peaceful moment Janis Joplin singing old blues about Bobby McGee, chamber quartet playing crystal clear music, sending through me familiar shudders of delight." Like this is like the sensitive soul music, and but I'm a soldier, and don't cry for me, girl. I keep on going, keep on the narrow path, pulling up the meandering slope of generations. Above me, birds glide freely, and the wind in the open as if challenges me. But I am a soldier, and don't cry for me, girl. I used to love moments of memories and longings spread on the table, stories by Chekhov as an unrolling stone. Because I'm a man, disguised as a soldier, imprisoned in a straitjacket. So cry for me, girl, for the lonely moments, for the expectations and the years, and cry for two loving yet distant hearts. It's a beautiful poem. I'm going to sing it, try as I can, because I don't like to play YouTube in the back. Or maybe I should do that. Let me try to do that. If I can't, no, you know what? I'm not going to do it. It's too much to do it now.
אני חייל ואל תבכי ילדה.
So let's start from the beginning. אני שומע שוב ברגעי השלווה את ג'ניס ג'ופלין שר הבלוז ישן על בובי מגי. רביעייה קאמרית מנגנת מוזיקה צלולה, מעבירה בי שוב אותן צמרמורות עונג ידעות. אבל אני חייל ואל תבכי לי ילדה, אבל אני חייל ואל תבכי לי ילדה. אני מוסיף ללכת, מוסיף בשביל הצר מושך במעלה הדורות רווחת חטים. מעלי ציפורים דעות חופשיות והרוח במרחבים כמו קוראת תגר. אבל אני חייל ואל תבכי לי ילדה, אבל אני חייל ואל תבכי לי ילדה. אהבתי רגעי זיכרונות וגעגועים פרוסים על השולחן, סיפורים של צ'כוב, כאבן שאין לה הופכין, כי אני הוא אדם המופס לחייל, כפות בכתונת משוגעים, אז בכי לי ילדה, על רגעי הבדידות ובכי על הציפיות, על השנים, ובכי על שני לבבות, אוהבים ורחוקים. That's the song. And I'll conclude with one line of Magash HaKesef. This is a poem that is usually read in on Yom HaAtzmaut, Yom HaZikaron. Was written by Natan Alterman as a response to one second. I'm sorry, I'm moving that. The one of the foreign leaders said that the state of Israel was given to the Jews on a silver platter. And Weizmann replied, "No state has been handed to us on a silver platter. The UN partition plan is only a chance." And this became a poem that we read on Yom HaZikaron usually. So I read one in Hebrew, one in English. And again, it's my translation. והארץ תשקוט, עין שמיים אודמת, תעמעם לאיתה על גבולות עשנים. ואומה תעמוד קרועת לב אך נושמת לקבל את הנס האחד אין שני. היא לטקס תיכון, היא תקום למול סהר, ועמדה למולם אותה חג ואימה. אז מנגד יצאו נערה ונער, ואט-אט יצעדו הם אל מול האומה. And the land is quiet, the sky's eye reddened flickers over smoke billowing borders. A nation stands, heart torn, yet still breathing, to receive the flag, which is also a miracle, Nes, the one and only. She prepares for the ceremony. She rises against the crescent, an allusion to the Arabs. She stands wearing festive garments in awe. Then the young men and women come out and slowly stride towards the nation. לובשי חול וחגור וכבדי נעליים בנתיב יעלו הם הלוך והחרש. לא החליפו בגדם, לא מחו עוד במים את עקבות יום הפרח וליל קו האש. עייפים עד בלי קץ, נזירים עם מרגוע, ונוטפים טללי נעורים עבריים. דום השניים ייגשו ועמדו עד בלי נוע, ואין אות אם חיים הם או אם ירויים. Wearing mundane garments, also dirty with sand and heavy shoes, they ascend the path walking silently. They did not change their clothes, their fatigues, nor wash traces of a harsh day and a night under fire, fatigued beyond limits, devoid of rest, dripping the dew of Hebrew youth. Silently both come and stand motionless, without sign whether they are alive or shot dead. אז תשאל האומה, שטופת דמע וקסם, ואמרה מי אתם? והשניים שוקטים יענו לה, אנחנו מגש הכסף, שעליו לך ניתנה מדינת היהודים, כך יאמרו, ונפלו לרגלה עוטפי צל, והשאר יסופר בתולדות ישראל. The nation then asks, awash with tears and fascination, who are you? And the two silently answer, we are the silver platter upon which you were given the Jewish state. They say, and they fall at her feet wrapped in shadows, and the rest is told in the Chronicles of Israel. Yeh zichram baruch. May the memory be a blessing for us. We're going to conclude. I'm going to say Ashkava, and we say Kaddish, and then give me a minute. I want to set up Facebook Live so people could join us for Yom HaAtzmaut. Thank you for joining and sharing stories. And this last poem, if you look for Magash HaKesef, you could also find it in a beautiful rendition, and Yoram Gaon sings it. Let me say that, let us stand for the Ashkava. Sorry. I want to say first, I have it in the Siddur here. One second. I need to find the right place. It's right, a lot of things here. אל מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים. Wait, I don't see it. 1 second. אל מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה, במעלות, קדושים וגיבורים, כזוהר רקיע מזהירים, לנשמות הקדושים שנלחמו בכל מערכות ישראל, במחתרת ובצבא הגנה לישראל, ושנפלו במלחמתם, ומסרו נפשם על קדושת השם העם והארץ, בעבור שאנו מתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם, לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסדר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. אדוני הוא נחלתם, בגן עדן תהיה מנוחתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותם, ותעמוד לכל ישראל זכותם, ויעמדו לגורלם מקץ הימין, ונאמר אמן. We say it in English, amen. May God remember his sons and daughters who endangered their lives in the days of struggle prior to the establishment of the state of Israel, and may he remember the soldiers of Tzahal who fell in the wars of Israel. May the people of Israel keep them in their heart, and may their memory be a blessing. May they commemorate their lost youth, their bravery and valor, their devotion and self-sacrifice which ended on the battlefield. May the memory of the loyal and valiant heroes of freedom and victory be sealed forever within the hearts of Israel. And let us say, Amen. We're going on Kaddish al Israel, for in their memory, in the memory of all Halei Tzahal, all the victims of the Holocaust as well, and all those who died without any relative to say. One second. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shmei Rabbah.
אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם נאמר מיה.
שבטב וחטא גם ברמה במלוא המאה. היפה ועדה בנן ועדה נגרום והחוב תבדיד כבדיון תעשו סקי ועדה הדין כל הקו ואתה
אילנה ולהון ולחון
חותם מריק מיה
וקדם הרי שמיה והרעב אמרו אמן.
אמן.
שלום רבה מי שמיה
חיים וצבא ושבוע וחמה רוח ולה שכה וברכה
עושה שלום מרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל עם ישראל.
אמן.
אמן. We'll say the Ashkava. 1 second. The Ashkava for the people that we have that submitted their names. 1 second. Let me just. What has happened here? Okay. 1 second. I'm going to also put it on Facebook Live so people can join us for the tefillah. אשרי איש ירא את אדוני במצוותיו חפץ מאוד, המרחם על כל בריותיו, הוא יחוס ויחמול ורחם על כל הנפש, כל מתי ישראל בכל מקום שעל ועל ובירושלים ישלח הנפש והנשמה של האיש המרוחם הכשר שנפטר בשנתו מן העולם, בן דודי יוסף ברזני ומאיר פניקשטיין, שמסרו את נפשם על קדושת העם והארץ, ועל נפש כל חיילי מערכות ישראל, שמסרו את נפשם על קדושת העם והארץ, וכולם יחוז ויחמול ורחם על נפש יוסף בן בהיה, ועל נפש יוסף בן נזירה, ועל יוסף בן מיכאל לרץ', ועל נפש יששכר מנדל בן סוניה, ועל נפש גבריאל בן יוסף אזהרי, ועל נפש בנימין משרה, שמואל בן ראובן קאופמן, דוד בן מרגריטה, ועל נפש רפאל בן סופיה, אליהו בן שרה, רפאל, דוד בן רבקה, אברהם בן משה, ויעקב, רג'וסי רוח אדוני, להם בגני בכל ישראל השופעים מהם וחלם וסליחות, וכן יהי רצון ומרמי אשת חיים ימצא וחוק נבריחה ומחר גבולותיו, הוא יחוד ויחמוד ברחם הנפש ומחשמה של האישה מוחמד הקשר, אשר נפטרה משתו מן העולם, בלה בת לילה, והנפש המערכת תרסה בת חווה, והנפש עדינה בת שרה, והנפש לדישיה בת אסתר, והנפש רחל בת בהיא, רוח אדוני ניחן בגן עדן הן בכל עונות ישראל, השופעים מהם וחלם וסליחות, וכן יהי רצון, ונאמר אמן.
Man.
I'm going to start festive tefillat Yom HaAtzmaut. I'm going to stop this and share the siddur with you. We're going to say also Hallel, and we're going to blow the shofar. So, and the Kaddish will be with the tune. So for the Kaddish, I'm going to do it myself only. Don't join me for the Hatzi Kaddish, please. 1 second, let me get to the